It's not just the first team that's looking younger this season. Somehow, Francisco Pimienta's Barcelona B has gotten a little bit younger themselves. It may just be by a little bit, but at the professional level, even a little bit can go a long way. Fortunately, I trust Pimienta, the La Masia man through and through, and the new challenges that await him this season in the Spanish 3rd Division. Because today we're talking Barca B, the players Pimienta will need to rely on, and why achieving promotion might not be the goal this season, and why that might not be a bad thing. Hi, I'm Dan Hilton. This is a Barcelona Podcast YouTube exclusive. Yes, I know Riqui Puig was playing with the B team last year, as was Monchu, Sergio Abe, Jorge Cuenca, Ronald Araujo, and Dani Morer, all of which are now at different clubs or with the first team. But this year's iteration of Barca B may have more players with higher ceilings. In that Segunda Division B promotion final against Sabadell, we saw what will probably be a somewhat similar version of Barca B. Two of the main protagonists in the playoffs was Konrad de la Fuente and Ilaix Moriba, and that won't change this season. Konrad is on the fringes of the first team, but I do expect him to return to Barca B now that their season is underway, and Ousmane Dembélé, who was not sold in the summer, shares the backup winger minutes with Trincao and Sampedri, plus Griezmann and Fati the starters. Still, as I've said, Konrad could score double-digit goals for the B team this season, and that wouldn't surprise me in the least. As for Ilaix, it would be a great sign to see him take that next step and become irreplaceable in Pimienta's 11. For the 17-year-old, playing time is the only metric that matters, and that's really the key for so many of these B players. With Konrad next in line, if you will, and Ilaix regularly training with the first team, it's tough to expect many other B teamers to be pushing into the first team this season. Now, as for the promotion debate, to play for the Barca first team, you have to be special. Ansu Fati jumped from Juvenil A straight into the first team, which is completely unprecedented, by the way. Everybody has had at least a cup of coffee with the B team, but there is no recent evidence that it matters much if youngsters go to the first team from the 2nd Division or the 3rd Division. Carlos Perez, who is now contributing regularly with Roma, and Puig both made contributions last season going straight from the 3rd Division to the first team. Yes, the higher level and better competition should translate to talents being more prepared for the first team, but Barca may ironically be the exception. For the players that don't have a long-term future at the Camp Nou, playing in the 2nd Division is a great proving ground for the step up to La Liga, obviously more so than the 3rd Division. But with the few players that actually get to stay with Messi and company, you have to possess the kind of talent that makes the 2nd and 3rd Divisions almost indiscernible. As Francesca and I discussed on this week's podcast, the hope is that one player from this Barca B team makes the first team. I'm a little more optimistic than him, and I think this is a special group that could have 3 or 4. But what we both agree on is that the B team exists to facilitate talent for the first team. Playing in a higher division in theory helps that, but letting promising players learn from mistakes and take chances, regardless of the division, is much more helpful. And this year there seems to be a greater emphasis on that young talent than recent seasons. Barca B is generally a younger team, consisting mostly of academy graduates and a few 20-something veterans accustomed to lower-level football to fill in positions of need. Usually that number is anywhere between 4 to 10 players, and for this season's squad, if you don't count Matheus Pereira and Ray Minaj, who arrived last January, just 2 players have arrived to help with promotion. Those are Joaquin Ceballos, a 23-year-old striker on loan from Girona, and Andrés Solano, a 22-year-old right-back on loan from Atletico Madrid B. Some will be unwavering and say that Barca B should not be bringing in talent to help with promotion. Move another player you already have into those spots. But these are at least 2 positions that Barca B did not have answers for. Hiroki Abe and 18-year-old Gerard Peque Fernandez, both somewhere between a false 9 and an inverted winger, have been filling in at that position. So has Minaj, but it seems the club was trying to move on from him this summer, and I can't imagine he'll be getting many minutes under Pimienta. Since moving Abel Ruiz and Alejandro Marquez last January, Barcelona B has not had a natural goal scorer to finish the chances for all their talented playmakers. Ceballos could be that man. As for right back, only injured Sergi Rosanas, who isn't expected back until late November at the earliest, is a natural at that position. In the preseason, Pimienta was filling the position in with center backs. A better fit like Solano could help bring much needed balance to the team, and allow the players with higher ceilings to thrive in their natural positions. Even with these recruits, promotion is unlikely, though not impossible. Every Barca B team is young, but this year's version is particularly young. Last season, the average age of the Barca B 11 was somewhere between 20 and 21. This season, it'll be closer to 19. That doesn't sound like much, but when we're talking about professional experience, a little can go a long way. Even though 21-year-old Oriol Busquets has returned to the club and Alex Collado stuck around as he recovers from injury, the players with the highest ceilings this year are still very much teenagers. 19-year-old Konrad de la Fuente, who should be returning shortly to Barcelona B as they get their real season underway, should be a major piece. Joining him on the forward line as regulars should be 21-year-old Abe, 18-year-old Peque, new arrival from Brazil, 19-year-old Gustavo Maia, and 19-year-old Niels Mertemer. The midfield will be led by Busquets and Pereira, but it will also heavily rely on 18-year-old Nico Gonzalez, 20-year-old Lucas de Vega, 19-year-old Alvaro Sanz, and of course Ilaix Moriba, who is still just 17, and returning starter Jandro Orellana at 20. Behind them, 21-year-old Oscar Mingueza will need to go from regular starter to defensive leader, because he is accompanied by 18-year-old Santi Ramos Mingo, 20-year-old Arnau Tenas, and 19-year-old Igor in the middle. Solano will hold down the right back spot with Rosanas at 19 backing him up, but the left back spot may be split by Mika Marmo, just 19 himself, and Juvenil A player Alejandro Baldé, a 17-year-old. At least in net, all three of 21-year-old Inaki Peña, 19-year-old Arnau Tenas, and 21-year-old Lazar Karavic are capable of winning games in the third division. So other than the two new additions and a few of the holdovers, Pimienta's entire squad is 21 or younger, a far cry from what Barcelona B looked like a few seasons ago when they were bringing in 24 and 25-year-old recruits. Results, though, could get ugly, and that's where trust in this process must come into play. Pimienta will be tasked with making sure that these promising players don't get comfortable with losing, but don't be surprised if results don't go their way on a regular basis. Staving off relegation may be more of the objective than gaining promotion. Barca B kicked things off this weekend against Gimnastic, followed by Olat, Prat, and Andorra. All good tests for which half of the table Pimienta wants to find himself in this season. I know it sounds like I set it up as if it was development or promotion, but we could see both this season. I'm not counting out these promising talents or Pimienta. I also always want to add the disclaimer that the younger these players are, the more likely it is that we won't ever see them with the first team. One injury at this age could change the course of a career. One mistake could be the difference between 3 points and 0 points. And at that age, you know that this game is more mental than physical. But regardless of this year's results with Pimienta, I'm happy with the intentions. And if you have good intentions, you'll give this video a like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications. And as always, until next time, Forza Barca.